Mike King, stand-up comic, TV frontman, and we all know him as the face of the New Zealand pork industry. There he was with his trademark toothy grin, encouraging all of us to get out there and buy pork. Pork grown in God's own, not from God knows where. That's what he said. Well, tonight you'll hear a quite different message from Mike King. Now he accuses the industry he once represented of legalised cruelty to pigs, thousands of them. And to make his point, Mike King goes undercover with cameras to expose the conditions in one large North Island piggery. Ian Sinclair with the story.
All I remember when we walked through the door was the screaming. These pigs were screaming. It's one of those sounds you never forget. It's in the same way you hear babies crying in distress. I'm a bloke who likes to know where his next meal's coming from.
Mike King, comedian, once the affable poster boy of the pork industry.
It means it meets our strict standards and is grown right here in God's own, not God knows where.
Tonight, he declares war on the people who once employed him.
Crate farming should be outlawed immediately.
Here's why. Animal rights campaigners have shown him how thousands of New Zealand sows live like this in crates. Pigs like these can be contained for the duration of their lives.
I will not be a party to this brutality, this callous, evil treatment of pigs. It's disgusting and it needs to stop.
And here's what turned him. Mike King, under the cover of darkness, breaks into an unidentified pig farm filmed by Open Rescue, an underground animal rights group.
These farms are quite secretive. You know, the cruelty takes place behind closed doors. They don't want people to see what goes on.
It was kind of a tense situation because, you know, we don't know if there's anyone there. We don't know if we meet anyone, what sort of reaction we're going to get.
He saw sows packed into stalls so narrow they could never turn around.
I just walked around looking at these beautiful animals, huge animals, wedged into these cages.
And it's legal. Regulations allow the crates to be just 60 centimetres wide and 2 metres long. Animal rights campaigner Hans Creek shows us a farrowing crate.
So this is where she will be looking after her babies for between 4 and 6 weeks. So the mother will be confined to this crate without getting out. So she can't turn around, she can't do anything really, except stand up, lie down.
So how big would the sow be in relation to this crate?
The sow actually will be touching the sides with her body.
So that's what they call a snug fit in device.
Yeah, absolutely. It'd be a tight fit for some of them.
You look into their eyes and they were either despairing, terrified, lost. It was absolutely harrowing. They were chewing the bars. These pigs were chewing the bars. Froth was coming out of their mouth and they were screaming. And they were, it was like they were screaming for you to help them. They were just looking at you, terrified but hopeful. It was just harrowing and disgusting.
The turning point came after Mike King's contract ended with the pork board.
On Christmas Eve last year, they fired me. The reason they gave me for letting me go was they are spending a lot of money fighting legislation that is about to be introduced, and they just ran out of money.
But he insists his change of heart is not because he lost his job.
If I had known this was going on, I would never have supported this. I firmly believe that anyone who sees this would say that this has to stop.
After he split with the board, he saw a video on pig farming.
It was a pig farm in New Zealand, and what I saw was disgusting.
G'day, mate.
How are you, mate?
Good to see you.
It was published by the animal rights group SAFE.
Well, we always believed that Mike probably would be one of like the many New Zealanders out there who's simply not aware about what was going on. I've been on farms.
They took the chance to put him in the picture.
I've seen pigs being put in these crates for the first time of their lives, when they're actually probably about that size, when they go in for the first time. And they fight those bars.
SAFE director Hans Creek is a former SPCA inspector.
They throw themselves around, they bite, they want to come out.
I said, well, I'd like to go and have a look at one. Can we arrange it? And he actually said, well, we should approach the pork board. And I said, well, not really, because, you know, what are they going to do? Dress the prisoners up in nice clothes and give them a wash and feed them and, you know. So a couple of weeks later, we go down the line and we break into a pig farm.
Sunday was given a first exclusive viewing.
And would you have your animals living in that? Would you?
But Mike, if it's this bad, and plainly it is, how has it been allowed to carry on for so long?
Because we didn't know what was going on. Honestly. Did you know what was going on? I didn't know what was going on. The New Zealand public didn't know what was going on. I honestly believed that our clean, green image and the way we love animals would never, ever allow that crap to go on.
As the open rescue camera rolled, Mike King recorded his own impressions.
Then we walked past, there's a dead pig. I thought it was asleep and I went to touch it, dead cold. Other pigs, you know, just looking depressed. Went out to the fattening pens. There were pigs there, couldn't even walk. Pigs that could barely stand up.
The scene left Mike King wondering, how could a farmer treat pigs like this?
I looked at my friend who, tough guy, real tough guy, and he said to me, mate, this is average, and this guy needs a smack in the head. If you want to see what a depressed pig looks like, New Zealand, take a look.
Mike King himself suffers from chronic depression.
You can see that these pigs are depressed, and as a fellow depression sufferer, I mean, who wouldn't be living in this shit? Yeah, nice bite, big fella. You deserve it. Yeah, get one back on the humans, big guy. If these were dogs, if these were horses, if these were sheep, if these were cows, if these were goats, these people would be in jail.
That's because they'd be prosecuted under the Animal Welfare Act, which is policed by the SPCA.
That's a kill. If you or I could be prosecuted for treating an animal like a factory pig, how is it that farmers are allowed to? Well, the answer lies in this document, and it's the Animal Welfare Code for pigs. And the first draft was actually written by pig farmers themselves. And what it does is it legalises their right to keep pigs in cages for years. In 2005, the committee that advises the Minister on Animal Welfare issues, NAWAC, or the National Animal Welfare Advisory Committee, approved the final draft. It allows farmers to keep sows in stalls and then move them to farrowing crates when they're ready to give birth. This despite NAWAC admitting
the use of dry sow stalls for extended periods does not fully meet the obligations of the Act.
It also says the same about farrowing crates.
They're actually giving legal protection to farmers to be cruel to animals. So these are not codes of welfare. These should be called codes to protect farmers. This has nothing to do with animal welfare.
Next up, the Minister is taken by surprise.
Didn't you know about it?
No, I didn't. No, I didn't know to the extent to which they were confined other than for farrowing purposes.
This is where much of your pork comes from. Pigs in cages so small they can barely move. And it's legal. But the minister says he didn't know.
Oh, it's a bit disturbing.
Agriculture Minister David Carter.
To see animals in that, in those confined conditions, I didn't find it something that I was very comfortable with.
We showed him the footage from Safe of that pig farm.
Didn't you know about it?
No, I didn't. No, I didn't know to the extent to which they were confined other than for farrowing purposes.
Farrowing. That's when the sow is held in a narrow crate with room to one side for the piglets. But the footage we showed the minister was of sow stalls where the pigs are held until they give birth.
The video I've just seen, there was no issue around farrowing. It was more about keeping animals separated and in confinement, and I presume that's something to do with mating.
As a minister and a farmer, how would you not know?
Oh, because as a farmer, I certainly know most of the industry very, very well, but I'm not an expert in pig farming, and my understanding is that it's an animal that is not as easy to farm as most people think, particularly if you're in a fairly intensive farming operation, and clearly that property was.
What do you make of it then?
Well, what I would need to know is whether that is typical of what's happening in New Zealand pork industry, and I suspect it's not.
But this clearly isn't a one-off. A quick look on Safe's website shows footage from other farms around New Zealand.
There are videos also on the internet for all to see.
Yeah. I can only comment on what you've just shown me now over the last 10 minutes, and I don't know whether that's typical of the pig farming industry or an exceptional circumstance.
But according to Safe, that is typical.
Actually, the stat is that 45% of the New Zealand sows are kept in crates, and you're talking about 22,000 sows.
Legalised in the Animal Welfare Code for pigs, drawn up by the National Animal Welfare Advisory Committee, a code due for review this year.
The decisions need to be made finally by me, but only after I get recommendations from NAWAC, which is the National Animal Welfare Advisory Committee. So that's a panel of experts that will consider this matter, and I understand they'll be reporting later in the year to me.
Isn't it fairly obvious, though? You've got pigs that can't move forward, can't move back, can't turn around. What science do you need to tell you?
But isn't the question you need to ask as to why any good pig farmer would put those animals in those conditions? There must be a reason for it. I can't imagine you'd get the best performance out of your pigs by doing that. So presumably the good farmers have thought through how best to get the most production out of their animals, and they will have a reason for it. Now,
so, without proper answers from the minister, we went to the farmers.
The Pig Industry Board, which represents farmers, declined to appear on camera, but it says intensive farming is the only way the industry can remain competitive, and changing over from crates and stalls costs millions of dollars. The board argues stalls and crates are the best way of protecting pigs housed indoors from injuring one another. It believes less than half of pigs, around 20,000, are now in stalls or crates. By 2015, the proposal is sows will spend roughly half their time out of those stalls and crates.
Just because I'm a commercial pig farmer, does it mean to say that you need to be cruel to your animals?
But here, says one pig farmer, is the obvious way.
While they're here, they have the best life we can possibly give them, and when they're gone, they make damn good bacon.
Havoc Farm in Canterbury is a free-range farm. Piggy piggy. Safe brought Mike King for a look.
You're a big bully, you are. Notice he's the same colour? Hello, beautiful.
So, Mike, how does this compare with your other experience?
Night and day. I mean, look at this thing. It's gorgeous, aren't you beautiful? You smell so clean.
A happy pig.
A happy pig. I mean, you look how happy these piggies are. They're all just lying around. They're suckling up to their mother. Why would you go for slavery pigs when you can have free range?
The previous review of the Pig Welfare Code began back in 2001. And in SAFE's opinion, the new review, the promises of studies, are just delaying tactics.
Farmers have a very strong lobby, and I've never seen a pig going to the ballot box. I've seen a lot of farmers doing it.
But the minister insists he will act if the review says it's justified.
Could you understand the public, though, looking at those pictures and going, why does he need a vet or an agriculturalist to tell him that that's wrong?
Yes, I can. But I think the public also need to ask the other question as to why would a farmer, as a normal course of events on that farm, operate that way, and at least put some balance into the story and find out why.
Minister, we came here to hear the explanation of why this is so, and you're saying you don't know why.
No, I'm certainly saying to you, I'm a sheep and beef farmer. I know that industry intimately. As to why a farmer manages their pig population in the way you've described it today, I am not an expert on that at all.
But you're the Minister of Agriculture.
That's right. But it doesn't mean to say...
You knew we were investigating
But
this.
it doesn't mean to say I'm a professional pig farmer, cattle farmer, sheep farmer and poultry farmer. That's not what you expect out of your Minister of Agriculture.
And what about Mike King? Has his investigation put him off pork?
No, I still love pork, and why wouldn't I? Try that.
Well, I thought the experiences in that place might have put you off.
No, the experience put me off eating caged pork. This is free-range pork. This style of farming is acceptable, and cage farming isn't. And if we want to make a difference, we should eat this type of pork rather than the cage pork.
Next up, Piggy Sue, the crate-farmed pig, wins her first taste of freedom. If you thought the farm Mike King visited is just a lone case, think again, say animal activists. SAFE provided these photos of this factory farm to back their claim that crate farming is widespread in New Zealand. Breeding sows living for up to 5 years with no room to move or turn.
Now, we'd like to see the effect of crate farming on these animals for ourselves. Trouble is, though, we're told that pig farmers can be a bit camera shy. So what we've decided to do is to get one of these pigs from this farm out of a crate to take a closer look.
Good girl.
Animal trainer Carolyn Press Mackenzie has volunteered to help us liberate a crated pig. Carolyn
really
trains pigs for movies, and that'll be her excuse to buy one.
Good girl. There you go.
Just how bright is Yogi?
I think she's incredibly intelligent.
As bright as a dog?
Smarter, actually.
Really?
I think they've done a lot of sort of scientific surveys and found that they're smarter than dogs, and actually even in some cases smarter than chimpanzees. Sit. You're clever.
And it's that intelligence that makes the caging all the more cruel, she says.
Look, Buzz.
If the farmer does agree to sell Carolyn a sow, she'll keep it here on her animal sanctuary with Yogi, Wiglet and Marshmallow.
So this would be the size of a sow that would be in one of those sow crates?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's less than a metre across
Yep,
for Marshmallow if she was in a sow crate.
yep.
And what, 2 metres long?
2
She'd be
metres
hanging out
long,
over the
so
back.
We've had Marshmallow probably for 5 or 6 years now, so to think that she could have lived the life in the sow crate, it's just, yeah. Couldn't even, yeah, I wouldn't want to imagine it. Hey, special girl. Come this way.
A qualified veterinary
That's the
nurse and
story.
zookeeper, Carolyn Press Mackenzie will liberate a pig from the factory farm photographed by SAFE. The plan to buy a sow, then bring it back to see how it's been affected by crate farming.
I think you'll see a pig that perhaps is shut off a little bit, perhaps not as animated.
Using a secret camera, Carolyn approaches the farmhands.
Oh, hi there, I'm Carolyn. I've come to pick up a pig.
She's greeted by the screeching of pigs from inside the sheds.
I don't think I've ever heard anything quite like it, to tell you the truth. It was just hundreds of panicked little screams.
Carolyn was hoping to see the pigs in crates. She manages a sneak peek of a holding pen. But the farmer has moved 3 away from the rest into more roomy and quieter accommodation for viewing. They're choppers down for slaughter that week.
Have you got a favourite with personality-wise?
You can't get attached to her.
She tries to wangle her way into a shed.
Can I have a look, or do you prefer people not to?
We prefer people not to go into the sheds.
Oh, no, that's okay. It's quite intriguing, this whole thing.
At the holding pen, Carolyn chooses her sow.
I like 473. Look at her face, she's cute.
And it's pig number 473's lucky day.
She just looked so vulnerable and she deserved better. And I think the big thing is to know that she's going to have some quality in her life.
Carolyn christens her Piggy Sue. The farmhand counts the money and Piggy Sue gets her big break.
Would she be used to being inside, or can I whack her out in the paddock?
She's used to being outside.
Inside.
The big pen, it's still covered, so there's still...
Okay.
Leave these girls out over winter. Yeah, it's just far too cold.
Okay.
And for Piggy Sue, a glimpse of blue sky and her first look at the outside world.
I think we'll just let her take a breath. I mean, it's been an absolutely huge day for us, but can you imagine what she's been going through too?
At her new home, Carolyn notices the sow is chewing the bars. You'll remember we'd seen that before in Mike King's footage.
I guess it's a stress relief developed behaviour. They just chew. It's like when the elephant at the circus just sways backward and forward. The pigs sort of chew on the bars there.
It'll be a big day for Piggy Sue. No bars.
Is that grass?
Then a sniff of grass and her first taste of freedom.
As a veterinary nurse, how would you describe the condition of this pig compared with ones that normally live in a field?
This is the big pressure sore there. From being in a confined sow crate, I mean, they're going to get sores and grazes and get sort of caught on things.
Injuries to the rear mirror ones shown in Mike King's footage.
Now, what about the expression in Piggy Sue's eyes?
Well, I think that she just looked sad. Hey, you just look sad. Your eyes look lost. Perhaps there's been not a lot to think about for the last 5 years. I see a pig that's struggling to walk. Obviously, that will improve over time. And I can see a pig who's emotionally switched off. So it's really nice to see the light turn on. But it just shows me that every minute they're in those crates, it's hell for them. They're not living. They're just basically just waiting to die. And that's their life, waiting to die.
For Mike King, the knowledge that his advertising helped an industry he now considers cruel just adds to the guilt.
Looking back at those ads now, where you were selling pork, how would you have done it differently?
I should have investigated the industry before I went into it, and I am deeply ashamed that I was blinded by and took part in promoting this style of farming.
Why do you think this resistance within the government to doing something humanitarian?
Money. Simple, greed and money. I challenged the minister to spend 45 minutes in the same pig shed that I went to and look and see what I saw, smell what I smelt. And I guarantee you, he will outlaw it. That's your challenge, Minister.
We have got a lot more information on this very sensitive topic on our website, information from both sides of the debate. tvnz.co.nz/Sunday. That's tvnz.co.nz/Sunday. We'll be interested to hear your thoughts on this.